Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking episode 4 of season 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. called 4,722 Hours. I believe that's a nod to that movie 124 Hours, 127 Hours, I don't know. Anywho, this episode, at the end of the day, this is basically a big love letter to Elizabeth Henstridge and Simmons as a character. I mean, it's all really about her. We only very briefly get to see anybody else from the main characters, and even our sort of supporting character this episode, Will, doesn't come in until quite a bit of time has just been spent on Simmons. And as I said, this is just Elizabeth Henstridge, the Elizabeth Henstridge show this episode, and she really does take it to town. She just really does go out there, and we've seen that Simmons can be a real badass before, but here she just really gets to go nuts with her Simmons as a character, and she just never stops delivering. From the initial moments where Simmons is just sort of like pretty calm and collected, and just trying to be rational about the situation, to just breaking down, to her fear that she's going to die, to going on and like taking on a plant monster. Then there's the whole relationship with Will. It's just nonstop Simmons goodness, and it's quite a lot of fun. It's a risk when shows take a chance and do something like this, but here it really just flat out pays off. And I don't really know what more else I can really add to that. Now, Will is not a character from the comics, as far as I know, and I've done some checking. Apparently, he's just an original character. They do have some nice little nods to stuff here. The names, for example, of all of his other astronaut buddies they all have the same surnames as real astronauts. He came through the monolith in 2001. 2001, big black monolith. That's landed on a little bit thick. There was another nice little nod here in the show where I didn't notice it when I was watching the show, but other people pointed out that apparently in the video Simmons watches is on her phone. Her birthday cake is shaped like a TARDIS, and it is canon that Simmons is a Doctor Who fan. So that's pretty cool. Of course, when one considers that, so Doctor Who exists in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. universe, and then they've got David Tennant coming on to play Kilgrave over on the Netflix Jessica Jones show. But anyway, like I said, sorry, lost my train of thought there for a moment. But Will is a reasonably solid character. I can't recall the actor's name off the top of my head, but he does good stuff with what he's given. There's a lot of little nice moments there. Just sort of his amazement, for example, at how much computing power is in Simmons' phone, because cell phones were pretty crude back in 2001, at least compared to our smartphones, our Androids, and our iPhones today. To his not unreasonable assertion that this planet sure would seem like hell. I know if I'd been in that situation, I'd have followed his buddy's example and jumped off a cliff. But the relationship between him and Simmons, I really like how it starts out. Like he's not even frickin' sure if she's alive. I suppose it's probably best not to dwell too much on where Simmons was going to the bathroom while she was locked in that cage, but they do once he's kind of come back to reality a little bit. They do form a nice bond, and of course it ultimately leads to their relationship becoming an intimate one, which is just this enormous sort of stake to the heart of the whole burgeoning Simmons and Fitz relationship, and it really does put a hugely different spin on her breaking down crying when Fitz took her to that nice restaurant last episode. And I really love that moment at the end where Simmons sort of tells the whole story to Simmons, and just for a moment you think Leo is storming off because he's pissed, but no, it's not that. He's like, okay, I'm I love Simmons so much, I'm going to help her get the man she loves back, even if it's not me. And that rings absolutely true to him as a character. Fitz is not the kind of guy who's going to tell her, F you, for, falling in love with someone else. He's like, okay, I want Simmons to be happy, and I don't care if it's with someone else. That's what matters to me. I mean, that's a real winner of a moment there for Fitz. But going back to what's all that stuff that happened on the planet. One thing that I really did like is that they find the bottle of wine that the 18th century guy had brought in there, and they try and drink it, and then Simmons says like, it tastes like vinegar. Well, I don't know a lot about wine, but one thing I do know about wine is that if you don't store it properly, it basically will turn into vinegar. And I didn't know that until like a year or two ago when I just happened to read something or about wine on or no I saw something about it on television. And the reason that stuck with me because my grandfather has basically had this bottle of wine in his old fridge that's been sitting there literally since the 1980s. He's this enormous pack rat. And more than a few times over the years, I've thought about cracking that thing open just to find out what it would taste like. But that bottle has been there ever since I was a child, so it just sort of seemed wrong to do it, even though I'm well past the drinking age. You don't want the things that you remember from when you were a kid to really go away, and that's just a constant. So I remember when I read that, I'm like thinking, like, oh wow, it's probably would have. Oh, then yeah, me cracking that bottle open and trying to drink it would probably have been a very bad idea. At the very worst, least I would have gotten a mouthful of something that tasted like vinegar. At worst, well, how would you really want to drink something that's been sitting in a refrigerator since the 1980s? Yeah. I got food poisoning one time from some orange juice I bought at a convenience store. Believe you me, I don't want to go through that again. That was oh. Food poisoning is not fun, ladies and gentlemen. That is a miserable, miserable experience. But nice little nod of real science there. And another great moment when they have that looks like that moment where they might actually shoot the bottle through the portal and then it closes at the last second. I mean, you kind of saw that it was going to happen, but the heartbreak was real. Now, that critter, whatever it is that's running around on the planet, I got no idea what that could possibly be. We just don't have enough information about this being to really judge whether or not it's something from the comics. I mean, I'm going to guess it's going to turn out to be something from the comics, but who knows? We just don't have enough information at this moment. And yeah, I really don't have too much else to say about this episode. I mean, this was just an episode to really let Elizabeth Henstridge go out there and shine like she's never shown before on this show, and she went out there and did it. And points to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for going out and taking such an enormous risk. It put a lot of faith in Henstridge as an actress, and the show and we, the audience, were rewarded for that faith. So, I think that is a good place to wrap this up. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.